What is happening, people? I am pumped to have this man on the show, folks. I want y'all to give a huge welcome to the man himself, Mr. Adam Copley. What's going
Thanks,
on, brother? How you
thanks
feeling
for having
today?
me on, man. Feeling good. Just got done with some training up at War. Been there all morning and got home and showered about a minute before this.
Dude, we were just talking about that. The amount of clothes you have to go through a day, dude. The amount of miles you put on your car, and just from day to day, bro, you have no idea what's gonna happen, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah, I'm packing a backpack with just extra clothes and towels and stuff. I'm on average probably 5 shirts a day and 2 or 3 sets of shorts and undies a day and 3 showers.
Bro. And then, like we said, this weekend, you're going to Atlanta for Invicta. A couple weeks ago, you were in California for UFC 311. You know what I'm saying? You're at PFL events. You're at other UFC events. You're at regional scene events. You're at Fury FC events. I mean, it's crazy, Adam. I don't know how you keep everything together and get your own workouts in, bro.
Oh man, the workouts is tough. I try to make as little, little gaps here and there. And anytime someone stands me up on a private or something, I'm getting my workout instead. But they're tough to do because I'm worn out from this. But the traveling takes it out of you too. So I got my calendar is how I live by, man. My calendar is everything.
Dude, let me just say, your private gym you showed me before we got started, dude, such a badass setup. The fact that it's in your house too, you can just call guys over. Like you said, even if they can't make it, if you get home at late at night or early in the morning, you got time to do your own things there.
Dude, absolutely. Having a home gym has been great. I get all my workouts in here or at War when I'm there as well. I got my weights and set up there. But yeah, it's really nice and convenient that way because I actually live like 30 plus minutes from War. So I'm there in the mornings, but then I'm here in the evening. So if people want to get work with me, they still can, but it's going to be out of the convenience of my own home. And it's got an AC and heater. It's got fully insulated garage door and walls, and I got the whole setup in here: stereo, lighting, everything, man.
Hey, but sometimes those private sessions, bro, end up being the best sessions, dude. Especially as
Dude,
a fighter, it's amazing.
absolutely, man. I had one of my pros here who's in camp, Kyle Toadrank, here last night. Me and him hit for like an hour, hour and a half straight. It's a good way to put a lot of one-on-one time with these guys is here in the house.
And they feel more comfortable. You're way more comfortable at your own house too. It's just a different vibe, man. You get a little bit more intimate with the fighter itself.
Yeah, and I can always go raid the fridge for snacks and refills.
Exactly. And that shower, Adam, you can just walk to it, brother. Don't gotta
Yeah,
pack your bags, none of that stuff, dude. But Adam,
absolutely.
you're the man, dude, and I want to find out more about you. What were you doing before you got involved in combat sports, man? And how old were you when you got involved in it?
I got involved in combat sports when I was 19. Truly involved, like in MMA and stuff. And I was in college at the time. I was going to U of H, I believe, and I started skipping a lot of classes just to go train more, and found a love for it. And it's been full speed ever since. I worked a lot of different jobs throughout the years, and I even had my own gym for a few years, and shut that down to work in oil and gas and make some money and start the family, buy the home, and all that. But I got laid off back in January 2019, and I started looking and interviewing at other places, and my wife encouraged me just to jump full force into coaching. I was coaching part time then, and I was already coaching at War, like a couple evenings a week, and on top of my busy work schedule. And she's like, just take the jump. And we had a bunch of savings and unemployment and severance pay and all that. So I was like, all right, I got a little cushion to take the jump, and never looked back, man. It's been great, and it's gone better than I could ever hope for. And I think the real key was having the experience from the past of all the years combined up to that moment, having the right situation of Jeremy helped allow me to help coach with him on the fight team over at War. And then on top of that, just having the right life situation where we could handle the bills at that moment. And it's been great. It's once I took that jump, it was 40 hours a week plus all the overtime into this. Like I was working crazy hours in my other jobs, and I took the same approach here. I'm 2 hours minimum of film a day. I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm growing. I've become a much better coach in the last couple of years. And man, it's just really just taking the time and the work ethic into this and treating it like a real job.
What gym were you training at when you were 19, Adam? Do you remember?
Yes, I started training at McCall's, actually. It was a gym over in Atascocita. And then from there, I trained with Renan. I trained over at 4 Ounce. I trained at SBA, Paradise. I mean, I trained at Hoger's for a while there, Solis. I trained everywhere, and I think that was a big part of it. And then in 2011, I opened up my gym and hired instructors, and those guys came in, and I learned from them. Like I brought guys into my gym, and met some really great people along the way. Renan Chavez was my jiu-jitsu coach, and he
Oh,
introduced me to like Mike Oliveris, who's one of the
yeah.
best coaches I've ever worked with and a stud himself. And I've just had the benefit of like absorbing a lot of great information from coaches all over the city and all over the state, and taking the best from each of them and just implement it into MMA. And a lot of times it's you're learning the individual arts, and then you got to figure out what applies to MMA and what doesn't, and trial and error. But yeah, I've been blessed to learn under a lot of great people, man, and I've just taken all those lessons and put them into my fighters.
What year was it when you got into like watching combat sports and like MMA?
I was watching it when I was younger because my cousin was really into it, and he would watch the
Oh,
early
damn.
pay-per-views. But in '07 is when I started training, May of '07.
Oh, 07. So at the time, bro, the UFC's having one card a month at the time.
Yeah, not too often back then. It was a lot cheaper to watch the UFC back then too.
Bro, and there was only like 6 or 7 fights on the card. It wasn't even known at all, dude. I didn't get into UFC till like 2013. But before then, you'd see guys wearing affliction shirts, you'd see tap out shirts. Everyone rocked with Chuck Liddell. But dude, in '07, getting into the industry and like kind of wanting to be a fighter, is that what you wanted to do? Did you want to be a fighter, Adam, or were you just doing it just to stay active?
No, absolutely. I had cage dreams. I thought I was a great athlete, thought I'd be a great fighter. And, I was a good athlete and I was tough, but I wasn't very technical. I didn't become technical probably until the last, 5 or 6 years, to be honest. My
Oh,
time
damn.
when I was more training, even when I had my own gym, I had things and I thought I was good, but looking back now, I mean, I was trash. I'm far better at my job now and every single year ongoing.
Yeah. Did you have any fights yourself?
Yes. I had some. I had 2 professional fights, and then I had some. Not really amateur fights, like non-sanctioned bouts, like in a bar or outside a bar. But they were in a cage and you weighed in and stuff. But there was some shady stuff. But I
Yeah.
had two. I had 2 sanctioned pro bouts as well, and it's been a long time since I fought. But yeah, so I've had some fights, but not the wealth of experiences like Jeremy. Jeremy's over there with 10 professional fights, a bunch of
Dude.
kickboxing fights. He's got way more experience in that realm than I do.
Before I get into how you met Jeremy, I know you met him at 4 ounce and like y'all's bond just kind of just went since there, and y'all are kind of together running war now, which is insane, especially hearing that you took a break and was in the oil and gas industry. And like you said, dude, the hours over there are insane, Adam. Like it's perfect because one of my questions is how do you deal with like all the hours and time slots you're having to work from sun up to sundown, dude, and even after. But you kind of already have that mindset being in oil and gas already, man.
Yeah, I was used to long hours, man, and I'd work
Yeah.
5 a.m. to 7 p.m., get off, and a couple nights a week go coach over at War, and before that at 4 ounce, and before that at 3 style wrestling or hard head hitters, like different gyms throughout Houston, and that's a lot of it too. I've got to coach at a lot of great gyms over the years, and I've learned from different fighters and coaches at those gyms, and just taking a little bit from them as well. But yeah, man, the work ethic has been in me since I was a kid. I've always had work ethic. My dad was the guy who's, you're going to do 1,000 jump ropes in a row without messing up. And, you're going to go run miles these days. And he was running with me. He had great work ethic. He's a guy who grew up very poor and worked his way to some success. And it's all through the grind. And he taught that and instilled that in me. And, I was always, no matter what sport I was and growing up, he always had extra work for me to do outside of normal practices. And I just kept that, man. And then I was used to the long hours with oil and gas. So I just keep those same long hours in this. And, it's really a matter of what you put into is what you get out. And I try to keep that approach. I'm always going to outwork everyone, but at the same time, I'm always going to have that white belt mentality and try to become better at the process.
What weight class did you fight at, Adam?
45 and 55.
Oh, damn. Okay, I got you. So 45 and 55. What did your family think at the time when you were doing it? And what did they think about you being basically a assistant head coach of War?
Man, my family, I don't think they're super happy that I chose that sport. I bet my mom would probably rather me do something that was non-contact,
Yeah,
but,
same. Hey, same.
yeah. But, they came to my mom came to a couple grappling tournaments. My dad came to some fights and stuff, and, they gave me some support, but they support me a lot more now when coaching. I think they were a little scared when I decided to leave, like nice paying jobs in oil and gas to come do this. But at this point, like they're very supportive. And, at the same time, like I have that immediate family support too from my wife and kids. My wife does striking. My kids train,
Oh, damn.
sporadically throughout every single week. They do a little wrestling and striking. And
Yeah.
so it's a whole family thing now, man. We get to spend a lot of time together in the gym as well.
Dude, I've always said I wish like my parents or someone in my family would have got me in martial arts way earlier in life rather than like, hey, football and baseball is the way. You're gonna make it through there. And it's like, hey, but what if I don't? Maybe
Yeah.
we should do some other things. So like your kids have no idea how great, bro, they have a mats in their house just chilling right there. You know what I'm saying? Their dad can literally teach them all types of different chokes, put them in different roles in wrestling, like hold pads for them, get their hands ready. Like even if they're not going to be fighters, Adam, that's just cool that you can teach them that they have someone there that they can fully trust. Because as you know, dude, you never know what you're going to walk into in some of these gyms, Adam.
At most of them, I would say, yeah.
Dude, especially boxing gyms. So that
Yeah.
was my next question for you, Adam. Who taught you how to hold pads, man? Because the way you hold pads and the drills you do, I know you picked up from other coaches and maybe watched videos too. But dude, I love the way you hold pads with these guys and like how your technique is with everyone. Who kind of showed you that? And were you like wanting to do that?
Man, it's just stealing a little bit from all these different individual coaches. I mean, I study a lot.
Yeah.
I'll watch the dynamic striking videos. I'll deep dive a fighter I like and watch every fight he's ever had and look at the techniques, break it down, write notes on it, try out the different combos that he had success with. And, just taking a little bit from everyone and then using my intelligence and IQ to try to figure out what translates, what's best, what isn't. I definitely have my own style. I'm a big believer in swap stances because the stats say you should. You're 9% more likely to win a fight in the UFC if you fight from both stances. And the way I do that isn't just swapping. I try to use it off of defensive or offensive strikes, right? Offensive strikes or defensive movement is how I have my guys swap instead of just randomly swapping. So, but it's just a slow development over a long period of time, man. And I feel like I look at my fighters from back when I had my own gym, and those guys had the base format, and they were trial and error for me. And then over the years, I've just kind of upgraded the same system, same concepts, but better technique.
That's perfect what you just said. Same concept, but better techniques. That's perfect, dude. Because when I was watching you hold pads, it looks like a real fight. Like, you know what I'm saying? Most guys hold them.
I
Hey,
throw
1, 2,
back a
3.
lot too. Yeah,
Yes, yeah. Hey, but that's important though.
it
That's
is. It
important,
is.
dude.
I mean, there's a lot. I can make guys look pretty on pads, and a lot of times, like videos are running all the time. But if they say, "Hey, I want to look really good on pads, let's do a video," well, I can make them look good. But if I'm really working with people, I'm holding close to my face. I might get hit in the face sometimes because I'm not
Dude.
letting them meet and make their hands look quick. I'm making them work their full range. I'm throwing back at them every chance I see something. If I see someone drop a right hand when they threw a jab, then I'm going to call another jab and try to crack them the next time. So I'm trying to capitalize on all their mistakes because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good they feel about hitting pads. It matters, does it translate to the fight? I don't care about being pretty. And sometimes it is really pretty. When these guys get good and technical, it looks great. But that's not my goal. My goal is hitting with them. It's for them to work offense and defense intelligently.
Dude, and I found that out firsthand when I started at one of these bullshit gyms, and we're just holding pads and everything's looking good, and then I got in a first amateur fight, and defensively, I was shit. Like my footwork was shit. I was off balance on most things. Cardio wise, I was like, holy fuck, this is different. Because you know what I'm saying? Like how
Absolutely.
you're saying, the way you're throwing stuff back at them, you're making them move off angles. It's not just, hey man, we threw 2 minutes worth of combos and you didn't move really. Like, and you're making them switch stances, bro. You're throwing kicks back at them. Like you just said, if that jab shitty and you see that they're not coming back up, you're about to give them a left hook. But it's all
Yep.
out of love, dude. And if they don't get that, you don't want to experience that in a fucking fight, Adam.
Exactly. Better to find out your mistakes in training than in the fight.
Dude, what's the difference for you? Did you start out immediately coaching pros or just amateurs or just kind of like cardio kickboxing? I would like kind of would say just the
Well,
regular people.
my first experience coaching is when I opened my gym and some coaches quit on me or, decided not to show up. And I just got stuck coaching. Me and, my partner
Damn.
opened up and hired coaches, but by
Yeah.
default, I became a coach. My idea was, hey, I could have a gym, make a little bit of money and then train and still have my day jobs. And,
That's a good
and then it
point.
just became, I kind of got flung into it. And so, yeah, I just coached by default on accident. And so then you start trying to get a little better at it. And at first, it was a couple guys there that had never had experience. You do some smokers. I make them do tournaments. I had a process. I always made sure that they were prepared. So even now, like we have a system. Like our guys don't jump into an amateur fight until they've done at least 3 smokers, and they've probably done some grappling tournaments and have at least a blue belt level of knowledge, as well. And there's certain requirements, and so it kind of puts it on their lap for them to do those things. And I did that when I had my own gym as well. It's just I guess again, I upgraded those systems as well, where we require a lot more than what we used to, and it's more specific. And we give a printout to the fighters every year, and we say, hey, this is our expectations for our pre-amateurs, our pro, our guys that are in the big leagues. Like, these are what we expect from you. This is what we think it takes to win. This is what we want you to do. I guess the difference is now is we can't hold them as accountable as we used to. It's a lot of times it falls on the fighter because our team's gotten so big, the roster's big. So if they put in the work, they do it. If not, that's on them. They have to be able to do those things. I can't be sitting there calling 40 fighters every single day asking where they're at.
Exactly, dude. And manage. How's your weight? What's your weight looking like here? Are you going to this session tonight at 8 o'clock? Like you said,
Yep.
starting out early days, bro. That's easy for you to do when you got 5 guys you're looking after.
Yep.
What is?
I worry about the ones who are in the room, and that's all I can do. And
that's perfect. And I love y'all's process of that. Like the way you scheduled that. Like, hey man, you're gonna take a couple smokers. You're gonna do a couple jiu-jitsu matches. You're gonna at least come to some fights. You know what I'm saying? Get the environment. Kind of see what it's like here.
Yeah, it's always better to be over prepared than under. I think by the time you make your amateur debut, you should be able to. What if your first amateur fight is just a killer, but you don't know that because he's also an amateur? I think by the time you make your amateur debut, you should be ready for any amateur, really. And I think by the time you go pro, you should be ready for any regional pro. And then by the time you get to the UFC, I think you should be ready to fight guys that are in the rankings. Imagine it's your first fight in the UFC, and you're fighting another debut in the UFC, and it's Ilya Taporia, or it's Israel Adesanya, or it's Hamzat Chimaev. You don't know who you're going to get on that first draw, and you might go 0-2 in the UFC and you're cut. You got to be ready for anyone by then, So always better to be over prepared. And that's why when we go pro, like I tell our fighters, I want them to have two title wins before they go pro, because at that point they've had at least 2 really tough fights, I would hope.
And you've heard about that, dude, with guys like Yuri, who the UFC is like, hey man, let's get you in here. You're 17-0. And Yuri's like, nah, I got a couple more title defense I want to do in Ryzen, and then I'll head over there. Or guys like Izzy, they wanted to get Izzy like 6 years ago before they got him in 2017 against Brad Tavares. And he's like, I'm not ready yet. I got a couple more kickboxing fights I want to finish off over here. And it's super smart because then what you just said too was perfect, dude. You end up like Chris Moutinho and your debut's against Sean O'Malley. And you're like, fuck, man. I'm just going to go out here and see what happens. You lose. They give you one more fight against another dog. And we haven't seen Chris Moutinho in 5 years. But he's still a good-ass fighter.
He is. He is a good fighter. And I know he's had some runs outside the UFC, so hopefully he gets that call back. But, I mean, that's it, right? The UFC, it's what have you done lately? And it's that way for every MMA promotion out there. What have you done lately? So you always have to be prepared. You always have to be ready for whatever they bring your way, man.
Even like your boy Zachary Reese, who took that fight on UFC 311 on, was it 6 days notice or something?
Yeah, I mean, we got a new opponent on fight week. Yeah, that was rough. And we went from a tall, skinny striker to a short, stocky Russian who's a wrestler,
And you got to go to California. Who knows what's happening with the fires? It's just all that's happening too in your mind. And now it's like, no one cares about, no one thinks about that too, Adam. Like
no one will.
No one will.
But I'll say this: you go lose a fight in the UFC, as soon as you go back out there and win your next one, everything's forgotten. MMA fans have a short-term memory.
Adam, you're not lying, bro. Dude, who has been the hardest guy you've had to hold pads for? Like when they're coming in, you're just like, motherfucker, here we go.
Ooh, there's a few, man. I would have to say Zach Reese. Like that dude, he kicks so hard. Charlie Oliveros is another one, and Charlie can move as well. He's a UFC vet, and he's in karate combat now. And Charlie's a 55er, but man, he can crack them kicks, and he moves a lot. But Zach, everything he throws, it's so heavy. And the other Zach, I just worked with Borrego today, and Borrego, man, his kicks are nasty too, and his weight behind his strikes is heavy too. But there's so many, man. Trevin, there's some guys that are tough. Bruce, I get the most sweat with probably him and Mia and Alex. They swap and move, and it's I'm trying to hit them back, and it's hard. They move so much, and so I feel like I'm getting a cardio workout moving with them too, because they're cracking, and by the time I throw back, they're already gone, which is what I want. But I'm constantly moving and throwing with them and trying to chase them down, and then they'll do little trap combos, and before I know it, my back's on the wall holding pads,
Oh, bro. I've seen videos of like Surreal Gone, like when his coach has to hold pads for him, or like when you see Dewey Cooper holding pads for Francis. I'm always just like, Jesus Christ, bro. It's even worse for guys like Zach Reese, dude, because they're big as shit and they're fast.
They're fast,
shit, Adam. You hey, we're going 2-3-2 uppercut head kick. Like fucking, hey, I need to get there for that fucking head kick.
Yeah. Well, dude, not a huge guy, like I'm not small, but I'm not huge. I'm short,
Yeah.
And so when those guys kick, I'm putting all my weight on those thigh pads and they're just lifting me off the ground with that shit. You
Holy
know,
shit.
it's like the bowling ball hitting the pin and the pin's going flying. That's me, man. So I'll do everything I can to sit on some of them punches. I got a heavyweight too that hits really hard, but I don't hold pads like that for him. I'm holding paddles and sticks with him. But Miles Banks is 6'9", 285,
Oh my
and moves
God.
like moves fast as can be. But I don't sit on heavy pads and tie pads with him. I'm paddles and sticks with him, and he's hitting light and moving quickly. Because if he cracks, like I'm fucked.
Where does he fight out of right now?
He's in Fury.
Oh, he's in Fury right now?
Yeah, he was the Fury amateur champ, and he's a 5-fight professional now, and he's trying to get booked hopefully sometime between March and May for them now. He
Dude,
hasn't
I
fought
can't
since
wait.
November, I think. He got married at the end of the year last year. Congrats to him. So he took
Congrats.
a little time off for that, and he's still training and stuff and looking to get booked now. He was hoping to get booked in February, but it just didn't happen.
Dude, 6'9" is crazy, Adam. I don't blame you for wanting to just use like, hey, dude, we're using pool noodles today, dog.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I got these precision sticks, like the Hayabusa ones, and I
Oh,
like
those are
those a lot.
nice. Those are
Yeah.
nice, dude.
And I got the rival paddles, and I'll use those on them. But I'm
Yeah.
holding my arms up above my head, and that's
Yeah.
still doing this.
Bro,
So
that's what's crazy too, man. Like you're having to hold these pads next to your mouth and face 5 to 6 times a day, probably more. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
it's crazy that more like accidents and injuries don't happen, but that just shows you like the communication you got with your fighters.
they do. And on guys I don't trust, I'll move my head as they're hitting it. I get cracked a lot though, but I know I get cracked because I hold really close to my face. But I want to hold close to
Yeah.
my face because I don't want them to get used to punching like this, and I don't
Yes.
want them to get used to getting stuffed with their punches. I want them using their entire range and knowing where that range is. So unfortunately, I get hit a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, with the smaller ones, it's not too bad. The ladies
Yeah.
like to think they can really hurt me, and it sucks
Yeah.
still. But it's the big boys that I'm really worried about. When they miss, it hurts. Grego hit one on the pad that held on my gut today, and even through the pad, it hurt more than those body shots I get from the smaller fighters.
That was my next question, dude. For you, dude, because when I've had to hold pads for a couple guys, god damn, man, when they're really ripping those leg kicks in, they're throwing those nasty body shots. What's worse for you, man? Taking those leg kicks for guys, or just having to wear that body vest and just getting abused right there?
It depends on the individual. I got this rival body shield though, and if I put that on, like it can take away almost all the damage, except for kicks
Oh,
and knees. They might get through, but the punches don't really get through that body shield. I saw Freddie Roach using that, and I was like, if Freddie Roach, with his age and Parkinson's and all that, is using a body shield and these world class
yeah,
boxers, then it'll work for me. And it's amazing, but I don't wear it all the time because I move like I'm slow in it. I feel like a turtle. It's like a big turtle shell
yes,
on me.
yes,
So if
dude.
I'm really letting people crack body shots over and over, I'll put it on. Or sometimes, like if I have girls or guys that are fighting someone who's a grappler and just wants a pressure, I'll put the body shield on and walk them down a lot. That way they can like meet me with knees and uppercuts and stuff like that, or shoulder bumps. But other than that, I keep it off so I can move quicker. But unfortunately, that also means I'm eating a lot of shots. And I'll put the pads on the liver, and they'll go
Yeah.
around the pad and actually hit the liver, and
Ah,
that kind of stuff happens. But it's part of the game. That's why I got to work out so I can stay physical enough to take some of that. But my nose was crooked for years. I had broken it years ago, and then last year Anthony Ivy hit a 2-roll 2, and he hit that 2 right. I had the pad here, and he hit the nose, and man, I'm straight again now. It's pretty
ah.
centered. So sometimes it works out really well. Like I hadn't been able to breathe through my right nostril in 15 years. It was like
Yeah.
20% or less opened, and now I got great breathing through my nostril again. So every once in a while it comes out really well.
Hey, it's a gift and a curse sometimes with these guys, bro.
Yeah.
Adam, what is your fight day like with guys, man? Like from morning to the fight until y'all are walking out. Kind of how are you with fighters?
Morning of, I like them to get a shakeout, especially if they cut a lot of weight. Whether that's with me or sometimes it's with Jeremy or sometimes one of the other coaches like Joel or Sammy or a teammate. But
Mhm.
really just 30 minutes, get some pads in, the little shadow box, and just blow your lungs out and make sure that the first time after a big weight cut and refuel that you don't do that at the venue right before you're about to fight, because your body's adapting. There's a lot going on with your hormones and organs and everything else when you're doing these weight cuts, if they're 10 pounds or more even. And some of these guys are doing more than that. And so I always want them to get a early morning shakeout in and then go home, relax, eat breakfast, eat lunch, then go to the venue. And then we'll do a little warm up in the back. And in the back, it's 15 minutes or less. We're not doing a lot. Like I might hit pads a couple of 3-minute rounds with 2-minute break on them. Their same routine they do through pads all through camp, the same little warm up. And then they might go through some grappling exchanges or some, flow rounds with a training partner of theirs. And that's it. It's real minimal. Save it for the fight. Just get your mind right, get your timing and range right, and then let's go in there and save all the real juice for the fight.
Dude, I really like that process. You keep it real simple.
Absolutely.
Like you keep it simple. Is there anything mentality-wise you try to do with guys, or for the most part, you just kind of leave that in their hands, or like maybe somebody else?
Yeah, mentality-wise, I do a little bit. Jeremy handles a lot of that too. He's going to get people in the zone, but I'll do some of that too. It just depends on the individual, though, right? Like I had an amateur 2 weeks ago, and it was his debut. And so, like with an amateur, I told him like everything you've already done is you can't fix anything now. Like whatever you did the last 8 weeks or before this fight, that's it. You are who you are as a fighter, so don't stress about it. You're either good enough or you're not good enough. I was like, the 2 things you can control. I was like, you can control how calm you stay, right? Is your heart rate down? Or are you gassing yourself out because you're getting too hyped up? And I was like, and you can control some of your decision making. Am I doing the right things? Like, am I being calm? Am I being technical? And I was like, aside from that, that's all you can control. Like you can't learn new moves in the back and go use them live. Like that's probably not going to happen. I see coaches teaching 2-hour seminars in the back as they're warming up their fighter and going through every single detail. And then really that's just nerves, right? They're worried all these things could happen. And they're right, it could. But at that point, it's too late. The work's already been put in. Just trust what you did in the camp and leading up to that moment, and let your fighter go out there with a fresh mind, and with a fresh body as well.
Adam, I love the way you look at this, dude, and how you treat these days. Is this just from experience, or have you seen some coaches do this too? And also,
dude, it's through trial and error. Like at some point, I was probably that coach in the back showing them 2 hours worth of stupid shit. Hey, try this move here when he shoots in. Try this there. Like, man, the time to do that's during the camp. But at some point, I was probably doing that stuff too. Like it's just experience, and it just depends. Some fighters I'll leave alone a little bit. Some I give a little bit of confidence talking to, but most of them it's just reminding them of what gets them back to them, and that's different for every fighter. Some, getting them back to being technical, because a lot of fighters are really good in the gym and have great technique, but what I have to do is make sure they translate that to the cage. And without a lot of experience, that's hard to do. So that's my goal, right? Just to get them in the right mindset where they're ready to throw down. They got the dog in them, but they're not going to be chaotic and sloppy, where they're going to be cerebral and think things through.
What is your process like in between rounds? Like what's your mentality and like how you deliver your message within that 60 seconds?
Well, the first 30 seconds, I'm not really talking a whole lot. We'll talk a little bit, but it's really controlling the heart rate and getting their breathing back, right? They slow the breathing down. They get their heart rate down. Then it's about cardio, because my first goal for them is to go back into the second round with something fresh on their mind that they're going to focus on, and then also have their body recovered to a point where it was when they started the fight. So the first 30 seconds, Jeremy and I are just controlling their breathing, getting their heart rate down, getting ice on them, trying to get them cool and collected. And then once they're calmed down and their heart rate's down, now they can focus, right? Now the 30 seconds we have left to talk to them. And now we're not giving them too much. Hey, look out for this, or take advantage of this, or what the fuck are you doing? You should be doing this,
Yeah.
And it's just waking them up and giving them a direction. And then I'll ask them a question, or Jeremy will ask them, what are we doing when the round starts? What are we doing this round? And making sure that they understand that, can say it back to you and recite that. And then it's just go out there and have fun.
Man, I love the way you and Jeremy are with all this, man. For real. Like you said, like you've seen some of these coaches in between rounds, as soon as the guy sits down, all right, here's what I need you to do. You're not slipping on that too. It's like, bro, he just sat down from fight or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he don't know what, even with me, man, like when I started out doing boxing and I was in the wrong gym, Adam, I was not in the gym like you and Jeremy's. And bro, I get to the corner, man, and it's like fucking go, nothing about breathing. Half the time forget to give me water. And then you're just getting back up and you're like, the fuck was that? Like, I feel more stressed out right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the way y'all do that, I love that. That's so cool, man. Another thing, too, I want to know, Jeremy, or not Jeremy, I'm bad. You got me thinking about your coach, Jeremy. What are you and him like in the back and like the UFC, or like with more high-level pro guys compared to like a Fury FC guy?
Well, I think the only difference is in the back of those, we have our own room usually, or it's your own room with maybe one other team or something. So, but I mean, we're relaxed. We're watching the fights. A lot of times people, at all these events, UFC included, are like, hey, aren't you going to warm up? Aren't you going to do that? They think like an hour and a half beforehand, we're supposed to be doing some crazy warm up already. And then I'm like, no, no, no. Like, we've done this a few times. We'll be good. Like, leave us alone, you know? Like, I'll have guys want me to wrap people's hands up like 3 hours early at
Oh,
regional
damn.
events and stuff. And I'm like, dude, chill the fuck out. Like, I've never had a fighter go out there not prepared, you know, and not be wrapped up and stuff like that. Like, leave me alone. We'll be good. Like, you know, go talk to someone else.
Do you ever spar with any guys, Adam?
Yeah, but lately I just spar with like the newcomers, you know, the
I
guys
don't
that are like,
blame you.
yeah, I'll spar with the pros that are small enough that they can't beat me up, and then I'll spar with the amateurs that can't beat me up, you know. But once they get to where they're getting close to where they can beat me up, I kind of stop sparring with them before they realize that.
What's been your favorite place you've been to, man, that you've been able to coach a guy at, like arena wise or event wise, that you've been like, dude, I can't believe I'm here coaching this guy here. This is badass.
Man, T-Mobile Arena in Vegas is always a
Yes,
great venue.
sir.
I
Yes,
feel like they're
sir.
stacked. They're all on top of you because it's straight up. It's not out. So it feels
Hmm.
like even at the top rows, like they're right above you. It's really loud. And there's bigger stadiums than that, but that one, they're just like, it feels like they're right on top of you. And T-Mobile is really cool. And you know, that's the fight mecca as well, Vegas. So I like T-Mobile.
This is just kind of something, man, for me that I want to know behind the scenes personally, bro. What's that whole process like? So, like when you go out there with Trevin Giles or Zachary Reese. So when Zachary Reese is about to walk out, right? He's about to walk through the curtain. What's going through your head and kind of like what's happening as y'all are about to walk out? Like I know the camera's telling y'all like 5, 4, walk, walk, walk. But like what's going like give me the process of that, kind of the behind the scenes.
And you know, usually they take us as the fight before is about to end or is ending. You know, before they do the announcement, all that they take us and walk us up to that curtain, and we're just staged there. And at that point, it's minimal talk to the fighter. I'll give them, you know, maybe a couple words, but you know, we might wait until we're cage side to do that or do both. But it's real minimal. At that point, it's just, you know, it's time to go. And you know, but used before, I think I was, you know, thinking of all the things that maybe I should or shouldn't stay at that moment. But nowadays, it's just whatever's from the heart at that moment and enjoy the moment. Like those are cool opportunities to be able to walk out in front of huge crowds and stuff like that. And it's really cool for the fighter as well, you know. So just enjoying that moment. It's a last little bit of fun right before like you have to get dialed in again, you know.
Did you always want to coach, bro? Or did it just kind of happen, Adam?
It just kind of happened, man. I opened up a gym, lost some coaches not showing up, got thrown into coaching, and yeah, it just kind of happened. And anything I do, I want to be good at. So then it's just how do I get better at this, you know? And it forced me to learn and be a lot more technical and not just be a meathead.
That's a good point there, bro. I always say this too, dude. Like if you go to 24-hour fitness and then you go to like a UFC gym or MMA gym, the egos, the vibe, the way people are dramatically different, Adam. And it's crazy because in 24-hour fitness, dudes are walking around like they want to fight you. And everyone's mean mugging everybody. You go to an MMA gym, for the most part, you're gonna have a couple Sean Stricklands there. But for the most part, bro, it's chill. Hey, how are you? Coaches are greeting you. It's no ego. You're light sparring with dudes that could really fuck you up, but they're keeping it chill. Everyone's working on things together. It's crazy, man. Like you just kind of brought me back to that, like how that all works out, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we have a lot of high level guys in the room, and if they were really trying to hurt each other, there'd be injuries every week and people pulling out of fights because they're getting hurt in practice and stuff. And I'm happy to say that doesn't happen very often. It's because these guys don't have too big an ego, you know. And when they're in camp, say there's two guys that are very competitive. When there's those moments where someone could get hurt, usually the guy who's not fighting next will let his teammate, you know, kind of win that moment, you know.
Exactly.
And it's competitive to a point where you're not risking the injury. There is a point where you can't push too far. You know, it's like an 80% speed. And there are moments where it gets amped up, but usually that's when guys come in and they're trying to prove something, and it's usually guys that are a little less experienced, right? So these guys that are less experienced start losing a round because the guy's more technical than them that they're going with. And so they're losing the round. So what do? They add more speed, add more power. So then what happens? The guy who has more technique also adds speed and power. And now you might get a guy who's got a bloody nose or, you know, ate a bad liver shot or something. But yeah,
Mhm.
injury wise, there's not any real injuries really happening. You know, if there's guys in there that are spazzing, like we're going to green light him if he's being crazy a couple times and talk to him and be like, hey, you need to chill out, or this is why they
Yeah.
went hard back. And
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
they do, or they move on to another gym, you know. But, you know, there's a lot of gyms that have a lot of douchebags. And I'm thankful to say that, like, all the guys at the gym are really cool, really care about each other's teammates. It's a good family there, and it's a great environment, man. Probably the best atmosphere of any gym I've ever coached at.
Man, that's so cool to hear, dude. Dude, I need to go to war. Y'all
Come
are
through sometime.
y'all are literally 45 minutes. I looked it up before we got on here, and I was like, Bro, I need to stop by War.
You know, Zach Brego and Anthony Ivy drove 3.5 hours from San Antonio this morning. What's your excuse, man?
Come on, Adam. I'm being a bitch. That's what
Yeah.
it is. I'm being a bitch right now. I'm just staying comfortable to where I'm at, and I'm like, I don't know.
I would
But
say at least half of our fight team that lives in Texas drives an hour or more, at least half our fight team.
and it's crazy because that's what I'm doing now. I'm more like I've been at this gym that I'm at now for like two to 3 years, and I'm just
Nice.
more, I'm in that mindset, Adam, of like, I don't know, man. I kind of like it here. It's a smaller gym. I'm like, I've been vibing here, but it is like when I go to Heritage Muay Thai or Elite MMA or Woodlands MMA for like a training session or maybe just try it out a couple times. It is crazy when you realize, like, man, I suck at this, and this. You know what I'm saying?
There's always levels, man, and there's some really high level gyms in Texas, especially in Houston. There's at least 5 gyms in the Houston area, greater Houston area, that are very, very elite and have the capability or already are putting guys in the show, you know?
Like Main Street Boxing too in Houston.
Yeah, Maine, 4-ounce, Heritage, Metro, you know, GB Woodlands. Like there's some killers in this city, man. There really is, you know. And if you're not at one of the major gyms, I think you should at least be cross training at one of the major gyms.
I think you're right, Adam. For real, like I need to set something up at War. I'm not playing. Like I need to, for real. Like I'm gonna hit you when we get done with this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
text
figure
me.
something out with you, for real. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And Adam, I've been on with you right now for 40 minutes, bro. Super grateful for your time. I got a couple more questions for you, man, before I get you out of here. But dude, you're the man, for real. Like I love your mindset, how you coach. Jeremy seems like a super cool dude too, and
Very cool, man.
Bro, he seems like it. Everything y'all got going on at War 2 seems badass, Adam.
Thank you, man. Happy to be a
Bro.
part of it.
Dude, thank you for coming on, man. 2 more questions, bro, I got for you, Adam. What is a typical day like for you, man?
Depends on the day of the week, but let's say
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's wake up at 6 something, get ready, get my kids ready to go on the bus if that allows, and then I'm off to sessions at 7 something in the morning. I'm coaching all the way through till 10 a.m. I'm doing one-on-one sessions with fighters or privates with people. At 10 a.m. I coach a fighter practice. You know, with Jeremy, we do that together Tuesday, basically every day of the week, you know?
Yeah.
And then we get to noon and I'll do extra work with whoever wants to stick around and get some, you know, technical work in, some not necessarily live stuff, but just a lot of drilling. And I'll do that for another hour or two. And then I'm back to working privates with either fighters or other people. And then I'll come home, eat lunch in the afternoon, real late, pretty much, you know, sometime between 2:30 and 5. And I'll eat my lunch and shower and change again. And then I'll coach at the house in the evening and work with a couple more fighters, you know?
Adam, this is the reason why I asked you that, dude, because I didn't realize how busy coaches and kind of like everything was. You know what I'm saying? I figured for the most part, y'all kind of had everything set up. And then I started kind of getting into this and like asking my coaches more like what they had planned for the day. And dude, I would feel like lazy. I'd be like, well, I'm going to go home, get something to eat. I guess I'll see you back up here at 7. You know what I'm saying? And when I go see him at 7, he did 2 classes that day. It's finishing up with a one-on-one, and now we're about to do now we're about to do jiu-jitsu at 7, and then he has another one-on-one at 9. So like to me, I always think y'all deserve way more respect, man. Like y'all get it from all the fighters and everything, but like I just don't think people really know, man, the amount of hours and work and a grind it is for y'all to do this. And watching film and breaking down fighters to the fighters to make it make sense for them. Like, and everyone's different. Every single person's different that you train with.
Absolutely, man. Every time someone's in camp, I'm watching their fights, trying to figure out what their opponent's going to see. I'm watching their opponent's film, trying to see all their habits, their tendencies, everything they do or don't do, things that people haven't taken advantage of, create a game plan based on that, and try to expose some of those holes. And, you know, after I get done coaching at 9 or 10 at night, I shower, clean the mats, change, and, you know, usually go smoke a doobie and then eat dinner and then watch film after my wife goes to bed.
Hey, Adam, hey, I ain't gonna lie though, the ending of the day sounds very peaceful.
Yeah.
But, my last question for you, bro. I ask this to every coach and every MMA fighter that comes on. 90% of it's been the same. But in your opinion, what do you think the best base is for MMA?
You know, that's a trick question. It is, because the obvious answer would be say wrestling, right? Because wrestling decides where the fight is, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. But honestly, I think it's all important, wrestling included, but also understanding like wrestling for MMA, because there's different tendencies. You know, there's cage wrestling, there's watching out where your head placement is so you don't eat a knee, you know, or so you don't get choked or guillotined. Like It's a different kind of wrestling. But wrestling is, if you just had a pure base that was outside of MMA, I think wrestling's the best thing. But I think the best base for MMA is training MMA, because there's all those gray areas and all those gaps. And then I think you should start with MMA at an earlier age, but then go out to these specialists. Go get wrestling here from this great wrestler there. Go get boxing from this guy. Go get Muay Thai from this guy. Go get jiu-jitsu from this guy. And then if you had an MMA base, you'll know what translates and what doesn't and what adjustments to make.
Dude, that's a perfect answer, Adam. And you see that with a bunch of guys, like even Alex Pereira. Every week, I feel like this dude's at a high-level boxing gym. Then he's at a high-level wrestling camp. Then he's having high-level UFC guys come spar him. You know what I'm saying? Sparring with heavyweights, sparring with welterweights. And you see a lot of UFC guys do that too, honestly. That's a great answer, Adam. For the most part, I get wrestling, and I get wrestling, and every once in a while, I'll get boxing, because every fight starts standing on the feet. But I think the way you worded that was perfect, bro. That's exactly what it is, Adam.
Yeah, dude, the next era is going to be kids who are better wrestlers than wrestlers, better boxers than boxers, better jiu-jitsu than jiu-jitsu guys, but they're going to be MMA. They're going to start. I mean, there's this kid that his dad was my coach back in the day, Mike Oliveris, and this kid is a senior in high school, Dorian Oliveris. He won ADCC East Coast Trials. He's won all these ADCC Opens, and he's a black belt under his dad and John Danaher as of recently.
Damn.
This kid's a senior in high school, and he's I mean, I think he could compete in the UFC right now. He's phenomenal. And that's the next generation. There's this other kid who's got his amateur debut coming up with us, and he's had hundreds of youth MMA fights already, Like, the next generation is going to be growing up with MMA in mind, and they're going to be it's going to be special. It's something great, and in the next 10 years, they're all going to be in the big show, and it's going to be unbelievable to watch. It's going to elevate the game to a new level.
You're not lying, Adam. You're not lying, bro. We see it with guys like Chase Hooper, Raul Rosas Jr., all these guys that get in before they're even 21 years old and fighting in the UFC. So
absolutely, yeah, it's incredible, man.
That's a great point, Adam. Bro, you're the man. I appreciate you more than you know for coming on, giving me 45 minutes of your time. People, if you're wondering where to find this man at, it's been scrolling by at the bottom at Copley _ MMA, folks. War MMA as well. Shout out Jeremy over there as well. And Adam, if there's anything you want to say, brother, before we end it, go ahead, man. But I big appreciate you coming on the show, and I can't wait to come out to war with y'all one day, dude.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Yeah, me and Jeremy are hosting a seminar in San Antonio. So it's coming up February 22nd. February 21st, we're cornering a few of our fighters in San Antonio there for Fury, and the next day we're doing a seminar out there at 2. So if you're in Texas, make the drive, come out. We're going to do MMA grappling, which is going to cover ground and pound and strikes to takedowns and a lot of practical stuff there, man. So gloves aren't needed, but yeah, that's our next thing that we're doing. If you want to get an opportunity to work with us, that's your chance to do it.
Hey, Adam, I'll probably see you out there February 21st, bro. I'm going out there to watch Eddie and my boy Zach. So we'll probably link up sometime in San Antonio. In February.
Dude, that sounds great, man. I'm looking forward to that.
Bro, you're the man, Adam. Thank you so much for coming on. Can't wait to have you back on, dude.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
Yes, sir. Be safe, bro.